Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another week of You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, our weekly look at the Miami Hurricanes from the betting standpoint. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined by Lee Sterling himself. And Lee, last week when we met, there was no line on the game. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Vegas puts a 45-point line on Miami FAMU. The rest is history.
Yeah.
How do they do it, Lee? I don't know how they come up with this. I mean, Miami had to play Cam Ward deep into the third quarter.
Yep.
To get to their 56 points, and they cover the line. But look how close it was. I mean, how in the world do these lines makers pull this off?
They are good. I mean, we were sweating it out. You know, are they going to be able to punch it in there? But and then it seems like even after you score, you got to hold on. You need a defensive stop so many times. So these lines from 4 touchdowns up are tough. But Miami's 2-0. They've covered both times as a favorite. I don't know if Mario's ever. I have to go back and look. Started off the season 2-0. You know, he's had a horrific spread record at Oregon and also Miami, but you know, we went against them one year and made a lot of money, and looks like maybe this is the year they cover maybe 65, 75% of the games.
That's why he kept Cam Ward in the game. He said, I am done disappointing Lee Sterling and his customers at Paramount Sports. It's like, I am going to cover spreads this year, no matter what it takes. If I have to leave Cam Ward until the fourth quarter, we're going to make sure it happens. Well, we'll see what happens this week. It brings us to the Ball State game on Saturday, where the line has been set at 36.5. Now, obviously, Ball State's probably a little better team than FAMU.
Yep.
So the degree of difficulty is going up a little bit. But I'll be interested to see what you think. I got to believe Miami is good enough to cover again. Your thoughts?
What if I told you this game might go down to the wire? Would you be shocked? Would you almost fall out of your seat?
I would be shocked.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to do that. So here's what I see in watching Ball State. They have a redshirt freshman quarterback named Caden Simonza, and redshirt freshman, like I said, he's okay. Their special teams are not special. Their kicker missed a bunch of field goals last year. He's already missed his first field goal this year. He's 0 for 1. Going into a venue like this, a kid that's never played a road game like their quarterback, and even though they went on the road, they had to play Georgia and Kentucky on the road last year and got waxed both times. These kids, even though they're excited, they're nervous. Come on, you know their parents are making the trip down here, and it's a different level of competition, and they find out usually pretty quick. So I think that's a problem for them. Even their punter, I mean, their net punting, they averaged 36 yards last year. They've only played 1 game. Miami's played 2. I think they had a bye the first week and then played last week against Missouri State and didn't blow them away. So if you're going to lay big points, you have to have an offense. Miami did not in the past. And with Cam Ward, we have it. I mean, we've got our running backs are better. Our receivers are better. I mean, we got depth. You got to have that 4th, 5th, 6th guy. They've got to be better receivers also. So I'm going to keep laying. I think if you try to bucket, you know, it's like standing in the back of a horse or a mule, you're probably going to get kicked. So I think there's at least a 60% chance Miami covers here. And they have South Florida next week, but you know, he's going to probably keep his starters in too. Like the first week I had Nebraska. They take their starting quarterback out after 1 or 2 series in the third quarter, only up 33-7. And that got a little harrowing, but we see he's going to probably play him at least late third, early fourth. And Miami has the backups that can do the job. And even the guys on defense, they want to get in these backups. They want sacks. They want interceptions. They're playing for playing time. We got guys that can, in any position on offense and special teams, catch a ball, run a ball, fake a guy out, break a tackle, and go the distance. And that's why we're a much better team, also more disciplined. Let's lay the points here. Miami, 53-10.
tell you something else Miami has. That is an agenda. Okay. Miami's trying to win Cam Ward the Heisman Trophy.
Yep.
Tyler Barron is trying to become a first-round draft pick. Mario Cristobal is trying to guide this team into position to make the college football playoff. So, like, there's not going to be any pulling starters out at halftime, most likely, and things like that. This is a team with an agenda, and I think that makes them more valuable in the point spread game. And I'm with Lee. I think that I would be taking Miami here to cover as well. And Lee, man, I got to be honest. Like, I'm giving you a run for your money. Last week, I think I was like 12 out of 13 in my college. In my college and pro picks. They haven't kicked me out of the Hard Rock app like they do other people I know yet. But I don't think I'm betting that the degree of money to where they're going to do that. But yeah, man, I had a great first opening week of football. It was great to have it back.
College was great for me. We went 6-2, but the NFL I went 0-3.
Really?
Lost on Monday night. Yeah. Well, of course, one of my games was Tennessee. At one time I was 99.2% chance of winning, and then they get the punt block for a touchdown, and quarterback throws the pick six. But other than that, everything was well. College has been a little bit easier so far. Just some crazy results in the NFL. So usually evens itself out. And the last 2-3 years, the NFL has actually been as good or better than college.
Yeah. I'll tell you, since we're talking betting, what I have found works for me is teasers. And I know you don't win any money. They take.
No. Teasers in the NFL. In the long run, Gary, I'm telling you, you're gonna have a weekend where you're like, wow, I got cleaned out, because points are cheap. You see a lot of 51-10 scores. You see a lot of 38-34 scores. You don't see that in the NFL. The NFL, you can do teasers, but almost every teaser got busted last week. How about everyone who was in a Survivor contest? Probably 70% of the people had Cincinnati Bengals, and they lost outright.
That was the one game I lost, the Bengals.
Right, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that was the only one I lost. Every other game I picked right.
Other games, like, people thought the Raiders were going to keep it close. They lost big. The Chargers never blow anyone out, but they got Jim Harbaugh. So,
but yeah, I find those points are very valuable in the NFL.
Well, the key to doing teasers is there's 4 key numbers, and those 4 are 3, 4, 6, and 7. If you can jump 4 numbers, and a lot of times on both sides, let's say you take a 2-point underdog and move them up to 8, or you can take a favorite who's 7.5, 8, move it down to 1.5 or 2.
Yep.
If you got the favorite, you just have to win the game. You have the underdog, you're more than likely the game's going to end in a 7-point or less win for the other team, or you can win it outright. So
100%. That's exactly what I look for. And it's like, people say, you don't win any money. I say, would you rather win something or get beat? Because
it's another, if you're making the wager, they're taking the wager. You have to have as many tools in the toolbox to win. And it's sometimes I go 3-4 weeks without betting one, Gary, and then I can have a week where I'm playing 2 or 3 teasers.
Yeah. So it's fun. All right. One other question before we move on. Yeah. So you said 60% chance to cover.
Yeah.
Is 60 in your business? Is 60%? Yeah. Is that a good?
Yeah. Anyone who tells you they're hitting, all you have to do is hit 52.8% to break even over the course of 100 wagers, because you got to pay the VIG. So people who hit 55% make a lot of money for the whole season. The key is try to have a couple different outs, because a half a point matters, a lot. And there's a couple NFL games, I think, like Arizona, their game against Buffalo. If you only got 6, you pushed. If you got 6.5, you won. Same with Denver, 6-point game. So, I had bet Denver early in the week at 6.5. That's a winner.
I had Buffalo keyed in my teasers, Lee. How about that?
Yeah, there
I wasn't feeling so good early in the game.
No. It looks scary. Yeah.
All right. A couple other college games I wanted to talk to you about here this week. Alabama is going out to Wisconsin to play Tyler Van Dyke. Kind of uneven start to the season. He's been okay. not great. Now they got to host Alabama. This is obviously a huge game for Wisconsin. Alabama's laying 15 points on the road in that game. Your thoughts?
So Phil Longo is the offensive coordinator. If you remember the name, he was at North Carolina for 3 years. Thought did a pretty decent job. I just don't think he's the right mix here. I mean, they brought in Tanner Mordecai last year from SMU, and he got worse. Tyler Van Dyke is healthy so far, but I just don't think he's the right guy for this system. So, he hasn't been horrible. He's passed for, I think, 192 and 214 yards, but against nobodies. He has one. That's it. One single touchdown. No interceptions. But can you imagine if, Miami quarterback had played these two teams, and I'm talking about Western Michigan and South Dakota, and had one touchdown? We'd be like, what's wrong? So they're going to have a tough time here. And also, they don't have Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen, good running back, who's in the NFL. You got to be balanced to beat Alabama. Eventually, Alabama last week against South Florida, it was tight. I think it was like a 1 or 2 point game going to the fourth quarter.
Going into the fourth, yeah.
And then, they wear you out. They got depth, and they figure out. They got they have a good coaching staff. Kalen DeBoer, he's a good coach. He's also 11-2-1 against the spread versus non-conference opponents.
Oh, wow.
As a head coach. His only 2 losses against Michigan, national championship game, where they were probably a little outmatched and also beaten up and injured. And last week against South Florida. So I expect him to rebound there. Bama's probably not going to lose 3 fumbles like they did last week. And the Wisconsin defensive coordinator named Mike Tressel hasn't faced – I looked last year and this year, they have not faced a dual-threat quarterback like Jalen Milroe, which puts a lot of stress on the defense here. So, the crowd will be all excited. They'll do jump around. Yeah. But by the time they finish jump around – start of the third quarter.
Be time to go home.
Yeah, they'll go straight from jumping around to hitting the post game, frat and sorority party. So I like Alabama 35-13.
Yeah, I was not impressed at all with Wisconsin's playmakers in the game that I watched. And
their receivers, Gary, no separation at all. I mean,
none.
You look at these guys, you're like,
yes.
Shouldn't these guys be playing for like Minnesota?
Yes.
You would think that Wisconsin could attract some. They know that that's their weakness. They can't get anyone in the portal.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. That's what I saw too. And now they got to go against Alabama defensive backs. I think it's gonna be a long day for TVD. I love Alabama in that game as well. All right, another one I wanted to ask you about. FSU, okay, trying to get their act together. Is at home against Memphis. They're 5.5-point favorites. Your thoughts on that game?
All right. So interesting subplot here. You got Mike Norvell, used to coach Memphis.
Yep.
Playing his old team. Now, who would have thought they'd be 0-2 going into this game, and Memphis is 2-0? I don't know if you realize this. Memphis might have the best shot or right up there with any non-group Power 5 team to getting to the college football playoff. Why? After this game, they only have to play 2 tough teams. The rest of them, are low-level opponents. They got to play South Florida on the road and Tulane on the road. I think they'll be favored in both of those games. Mm-hmm. If they are, or let's say it's close to a pick 'em against South Florida, they got a shot. So Norvell's facing his old team. Florida State coming off a bye probably helps him. They will probably tell you, coming back, they had an extra, I think, 2 days to get ready for that game against Boston College. But you've flown before overseas. It's not easy coming back. Takes you probably at least a full week, and I think they never really recovered. I said this going into the season, they have to be a run-based team. DJ Uiagalelei is not good enough where they can use the pass to open up the run. It's not like he's playing next year. He's done after this year.
Yeah.
Use more RPO. If I was the offensive coordinator, I would have a meeting with him for 2 hours and say, DJ, being honest, what are the 15, 20 plays you feel most comfortable running? And try to feature those plays, because they're obviously not going to their strength. And you could tell the guy just looking at him, he's just mentally shot. So that's what I would do. They must not have anyone else behind him that they're not even making a change at this point. So, they got to be, like I said, they're going to make a change. They got to be more run based. Their play calling wasn't horrible to start the season. That first drive that they had in the game against Georgia Tech was masterful. We just haven't seen that same play calling since. So need to get back to basics here. Memphis just not tested. They played North Alabama and Troy. Now you're saying, well, Troy, I think Troy played in their conference championship game last year or the year before. They've been right up there the last 2 years. They have a new coach. They're playing all their backups from last year are starters. Troy is not good at all. So I don't think that they've been tested. I think Florida State can run on them here. It's now or never for Florida State. They go 0-3. Norvell's not going to be fired, but the Boo Birds, you won't see 25, 30,000 fans there. They may not even make it in from the tailgating here. I'm going to take the Fighting Norvells here.
The Fighting Norvells.
28-7.
The Fighting Norvells with a resume headed to Tallahassee if you want to bring in a new offensive coordinator. I got it all figured out for you, Mike. Lovely Sterling. All right. Any other thoughts here before we go this week?
That's really it. It's going to be a fun week to watch some weird kind of wonky games. You got like Missouri playing Boston College. Interesting game. We're going to find out how good Boston College is. I don't have a play on the game. Like Missouri has shut out both their first two opponents. Are they that good? We're going to see Bill O'Brien and his offense and a dual threat quarterback. How can they match up with a good defense? So that's a very interesting game to watch. I'm trying to think what else. Maybe Pitt and West Virginia. Those two teams don't like each other. Pitt held on for a win last week against Cincinnati. They were up like 3 touchdowns and had to hold on to win that game. That's interesting. North Carolina State, boy, did they look bad. Awful. They got beaten up. They looked slower. They looked uncoached. They looked untalented. Tennessee won 51-10, and they started slow. They started fast. That score would have been 71-10. So we'll see if they can recover. And I'm trying to think, is there any other game that's interesting? I want to see if Virginia, how they look. The Virginia game was real interesting last week. They came back to win that game on the road. So against Wake Forest. So going to be a fun week. A lot of teams looking to make their move in the ACC. We'll see if they do. And then Miami, we're going to be talking about some big games coming up. South Florida. Louisville,
Cal, which went to Auburn
at Cal, and Florida State. That's a tough 4-week stretch. So who thought that Cal was going to go into Auburn win that easy?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. All right. You got any specials going on at ParamountSports.com for everybody?
They want to come on board 3 weeks, $397. Call it September to Remember. So we have an underdog shocker going this weekend in college football. So this best bet will be included in the package. You get probably 8 to 12 games overall from Thursday night all the way through Monday night. So you're going to get probably 35 to 40 games from now through September 30th. 3 weeks, $397 if they like the UFC. First ever card from the Sphere in Las Vegas. That should be, should be interesting. Cool. I got to go see an event there, see a concert or see the UFC there. So that looked really, really super cool. 5 selections, $57, and Sugar Sean O'Malley's fighting there. So that should be fun. Everything's up and available. Baseball. Also for the NFL, 5 selections, $55. Just one place, ParamountSports.com.
All right, Lee. Well, we thank you as always for your wisdom, and hopefully all you guys out there had a profitable first week of the football season as well. You want a little help? Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports. You see the number at the bottom of the screen, 1-800-400-9741. So for Lee Sterling, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time, everybody.